The next slide is the prelim to your next question. It's on 131. Based on these three citations, AN 2.32, AN 1.51, and MN 43, how would you answer these questions? A. Since defilements are just visitors, where does wisdom come from? Okay. B. How about other mental states such as thought, evaluation or examination, rapture, mindfulness, composure, metta, karuna, etc.? Are they also visitors or what? Right? Do you agree with the commentary's explanation? The commentary's explanation is on the right-hand side. Okay, before we look at the commentary's explanation, D16 is actually about where the Buddha says that the mind is luminous. It is only defiled by visiting defilements on page 130. Can you see that? AN 1.51. Which means to say the mind here is the citta, right? The citta is luminous or is pure, but it is defiled only by visiting defilements, which implies that defilements are not part of the mind. They are only visitors. Okay? So, if defilements are visitors, then how about the other mental factors like wisdom and so forth? They are not unwholesome, they are not defilements, so are they also visitors or are they residents? You know? There's one way of understanding that question. Okay, and then look at note 39 on page 131. It says that according to the commentary, wisdom and consciousness are conjoined in that they arise and cease simultaneously and share a single sense, space, and object. However, the two are not inseparably conjoined, since while wisdom always requires consciousness, consciousness can occur without wisdom. So now we have another word here, consciousness. Just now we talked about mind. Yeah, the mind is luminous, the mind is pure, it is only defiled by visiting defilements. And then we talk about consciousness. Consciousness and wisdom don't always occur together. Sometimes consciousness is there without wisdom, sometimes consciousness and wisdom are there together. So what is this difference between the word citta and vijnana? Mind and consciousness. So in this slide, I'm going to give you deeper understanding of what is citta. This is also found in your notes, but this is more complete. Okay, here we have the mind is luminous. Luminous in the sense that it is pure. If you say it's luminous and you accept that literally, it means that the mind has got photons. It's matter. But the mind is immaterial. So it cannot have light. Right? Light is matter. So actually the mind is luminous only figuratively in the sense that it is pure. And it is defiled by visiting defilements. And on the other hand, we have the word consciousness, vijnana. Now, we can understand vijnana in two different ways. One is as part of the five aggregates. Then we have the five sense consciousness, eye, ear, nose, etc., plus the mind consciousness. Now, there's another word that is mano, which is mind organ, and mind consciousness. Now, there seems to be an overlap between the citta and vijnana. Vijnana is represented by the pale green circle. This is only a figurative representation. You must remember that the mind is intangible, immaterial, and I'm using a 2D representation to explain this. So this is very, very rough. Now, just to give you an idea. Now, the mano is actually a mind organ, which is equivalent to the eye organ. It's just like you have an eye organ, that's why you have eye consciousness. Right? So you have mind organ, that's why you can have mind consciousness. The difference is that the eye organ is material, but the mind organ is immaterial. It's not something physical. Okay. Then there's also another usage of the word vijnana. Now, vijnana is used not as part of the sixth sense consciousness, but to refer to the mental aspect of a personality, of a sentient being. And because Buddhists do not believe in a soul that transmigrates from one existence to another, it makes use of this concept of the stream of consciousness, vijnana sota, that links one birth to another. All right? But this vijnana also is not something permanent. It changes due to cause and conditioning. Yeah, it is just the sentient part of a being that connects one existence to another. But it is not permanent. It is also changing due to cause and conditioning. Okay? Now, sometimes citta and vijnana are used similarly to refer to the person as a whole. Okay, this gives you a rough understanding of what the word citta, mano, and vijnana, these three terms, how they are used in our Pali Canon. But to give you a more detailed understanding, we have to look at one paper that was produced by one scholar from Europe in the early 60s, long time ago, before the advent of digitalized scriptural sources. So he must have done really very good research, relying on his own brain work to be able to come up with all these references. Nowadays, very easy for us. We just key in the word, and then click search, and we can find everywhere in whatever sutta. But he has to do it manually. So here he looks at citta, mano, and vijnana, and he says that in the suttas, we often come across the citta that can be developed. Mano can be developed, but there's nowhere which says that the vijnana can be developed. Same for defiled. The citta and the mano can be defiled, but not the vijnana. Same for purification. The citta and mano can be purified, but not the vijnana. Same for restraint. The citta and mano can be restrained, but not vijnana. But only the citta can be liberated. Not mano, not vijnana. However, all the three are conditioned phenomena. All are constructions. They arise and pass away due to causes and conditions. And they share the same three characteristics of existence: anicca, dukkha, anatta. In terms of the five aggregates, however, citta and mano are not included. Only vijnana is included as the fifth aggregate. However, according to the Abhidhamma understanding, the four aggregates are considered as citta. Vijnana is only the fifth aggregate, but Vedana, Sanya, and Sankhara, together with vijnana, all these combined together is regarded as the citta from the Abhidhamma point of view. That's just the Abhidhamma terminology. And the mano is part of the five aggregates in the sense that it is one of the vijnanas, the sixth vijnana. Now, as a sense organ, only mano is a sense organ. Citta and vijnana are not considered sense organs. Only the citta and the mano can think, but not the vijnana. And sometimes the word citta, and less often the word vijnana, is used to refer to the personality. For example, sometimes read about a monk chiding himself, like talking to himself, like I think many of us also do, telling yourself, hey, look, citta, you have been pulling me by the nose for aeons and in samsara. Now I'm not going to listen to you. I'm just going to meditate. Yeah? Just like sometimes, you have this thing going on in your mind. The evil side will say, hey, enjoy first lah. Okay, meditate later ma. And then the other mind say, hey, no, must meditate now. Right? So this is the citta. The bad guy is always the citta. So Citta is the best bad guy. Okay, so sometimes it refers to the personality. And now sentience, citta and vijnana are considered sentience, but not mano. Very interesting. But only the mano is considered the coordinator of the five senses. We have the five senses, and each of the five senses, they mind their own business. Right? The eye only sees and is not bothered about what the ear hears or the nose smells and what the rest of the body does. Right? Not so for the other senses. But there has to be something in the body that coordinates all these senses for the organism to function, isn't it? And that is the job of Mano. Mano is a CPU, Mano is a CEO that controls the organism. Okay, then we have also, like I showed in the first slide, in the rebirth process, the word vijnana is used to explain how a being takes rebirth from one existence to another. Because there's no soul, there's no permanent unchanging being, they make use of this concept of vijnana, the sentient part of a sentient being, the consciousness. But again, that consciousness is a construction. It is due to cause and conditioning. Okay, this is based on Professor Rune E. A. Johansson's Chitta Mano Vijnana, a psychosemantic investigation. You can Google this in the internet, and you can actually download the paper, the original paper that was published in the University of Ceylon journal many years ago. Yeah, does somebody else want to ask a question?
I want to look at the first, yes. The second line, defiled. Only the chitta and the mano can be defiled and not the vijnana.
Yeah.
But then, it is mentioned in the sutta, I think maybe it's Satipatthana Sutta, we have to know the consciousness which is with lust and the consciousness with
No. That is
lust.
chitta.
Doesn't refer to this.
That's chitta.
That's chitta. It's not the vijnana.
No. Vijnana is never defiled.
To the chitta.
Yeah.
And and we know that it is the consciousness is liberated or not. That is also the chitta.
Chitta. Saragang wa chittang, saragang chittanti pajanati. Vimutang wa chittang, vimutang chittanti pajanati. Chitta. Okay. Okay, so you've already got a good idea of what it's all about. So now please start your discussion.
So for part A, so the group agreed that wisdom is inherent in the mind because the Buddha had always said that luminous is this mind. Okay. Question B, how about other mental states such as vitakka, vichara, piti, sati, samadhi, metta, karuna, etc.? Are they also visitors or what? The answer is they are not visitors, but they need to be developed.
So if they are not visitors, they are residents.
They are inherent, but they need to be developed, as you pointed out in your matrix. Okay, C. Do you agree with the commentary's explanation? The answer is yes, because consciousness is required to develop wisdom.
That means you are contradicting yourself. First you say it's inherent in the mind, and then now you say, they cannot...
Yeah, true. So the answer is no.
Okay, thank you. Anyone got any comments? Yes.
Our group have the totally opposite answer. Wisdom is not inherent in the mind. To enable to bring out or to develop wisdom, we need to see conditionality, as what we discussed a lot. Because wisdom is vicca, and in order to break avijja is vicca. Wisdom have to see dependent origination.
So is avijja inherent in the mind?
No.
It's also a visitor.
Yes.
So wisdom also a visitor.
Yes. That's why our answer for the second one, all the state, sati, vitakka, vichara, everything are visitors. Why they are visitors? Because they are conditioned phenomena. If they are not visitor, mean you have the will of permanent. They are always there.
No, isn't the mind also a conditioned phenomena?
A mind is also conditioned phenomena.
So?
Yeah, that's why if you ask me, I tend to not agree that this sutta is the original sutta. Yeah, because this is from Anguttara Nikaya. It's true, no, because you can only find only one sutta that have this view. Only one sutta that have this view. Then the commentary answer is even doesn't make sense, because you say the wisdom come out to conjoin with the consciousness. Then if every consciousness has wisdom, then we have no suffering. We do not need
No, you see, when there's consciousness, then there may or may not be wisdom. But if there's wisdom, there must be consciousness.
Oh, okay. Then I agree.
Okay?
Ah.
So by rule of thumb, if anything that doesn't agree with our interpretation, we just say it's not authentic.
Bhante, I'd like to make sure I understand what you're saying, because I've been, obviously schooled in the commentaries in Abhidhamma tradition, right, where it says that there are certain mental factors which are always there, neutral ones, things like contact and feeling and so on.
So if they can be there, right?
They're always there. But then, under certain circumstances, when there is the potential for both good and bad to arise, depending on conditions. All right? If I smell coffee, condition for craving to arise, meditation, condition for wholesome states to arise. It does so. Depending on conditions and conditioning, they'll visit. Now, the mind has, like the house with the open door, it has the potential to welcome in and develop the wholesome conditions, but equally, it has a door that allows the bad people to come in, the defilements to come in. Now, again, according to the commentaries and the Abhidhamma, they can't live in the same house at the same time. When the good people move in, they kick out the bad people. And when the bad people move in, they kick out the good people. The people that are there all the time, contact, feeling, perception, and so on, get influenced by whoever their visitors are, and in turn become good or bad. All right? I'm simplifying the Abhidhamma, all right, as I'm sure Bhante is aware. Are you suggesting that wisdom or the wholesome mental factors have got a preferential treatment rather than just simply conditioned, like or some different treatment for the wholesome as compared to the unwholesome?
They are Bhumi Putras.
Okay, and the basis for that is this luminous sutta, is why you feel that the wholesome ones are...
No, and this sutta. Share in Gnosis. Vijabhagya Sutta.
Okay.
Anguttara Nikaya 2.32.
Another Anguttara Nikaya Sutta.
I tend to not agree with what you have said. Just for example, if there's no rain now, you cannot say the rain is already there. Because the condition is already there, then we have the rain. So if we say that the wisdom or whatever is already there, this is like a wrong perception, or we call it, sorry, in my view, I'm not in any way disrespectful. It's just that this is a permanent view. Something is already there, which is unchangeable. Then it's become unconditional phenomena. So I would say, for me, I would still like to understand that wisdom is also a conditioned phenomena, is a visitor. Just now during our group discussion, we said that if we want to plant a mango tree or mango farm, this is a field, we need to bring the seed is not there on that field. We have to bring it from somewhere and plant it, then it grow. This is how we develop or cultivate the plant, which is the seed which is not there. It doesn't need to be that the seed have to be there or originally to be there. So this is just my
analogy.
Yes, my analogy.
My answer to that is, wisdom is not a permanent phenomena. It's also anicca, because the Bhumi Putra can also change.
In the Abhidhamma model, you have certain sadharana cetasikas, which are universals, and they stay in the mind all the time. Yeah? If these guys can stay there, why can't wisdom and the other guys stay there as well? I mean, applying the same logic. But they are there in the sense that they arise and pass away together with the mind, and the mind is also a conditioned phenomena. And as I pointed out in this particular sutta, this Anguttara Nikaya Sutta, it says that you can only develop something which is there, and you abandon something which has come in.
Basically, wisdom is inherent in us because it's mentioned here. Luminous, monks, is the mind. That is on page 130. But it is defiled by visiting defilements. That means the mind is inherently has the property of wisdom.
So you associate luminosity with wisdom?
Well, because in another part it says that, okay, then we go back to 128. It says when tranquility developed, mind is developed, distinct seeing is developed, and then wisdom is developed. And that development means it is not visitors coming from outside. It is inherently developed.
Yes, okay.
Yeah. So I guess that answers A. And the other thing is that it is clouded by defilement because wisdom basically is the ability to see clearly without any defilement.
Yes.
All right. B. Vitaka, vichara are just part of the thinking process, which is inherently functions of the mind.
Okay.
So therefore, they're not visitors as such. But whether they are wholesome or unwholesome depends on whether they are defiled or not defiled.
Yes,
Okay, so...
How about the Brahma Viharas?
Okay, the Brahma Vihara are inherently pure states of mind. The Metta, Karuna, Mudita, Upekkha are pure states of mind. As I understand it, basically that is the state of mind of an Arahant. Where the mind is pure, perfectly pure. So they are not, none of these mentioned are visitors. Samadhi is basically the ability to cultivate that stillness of mind or the purity of mind. So again, it is not a visitor thing.
Okay.
So that's B answered.
C.
C. Yes, is the answer. And the explanation is that, okay, what's the explanation? Okay. Wisdom always requires consciousness. Consciousness can occur without wisdom. Meaning, I'll take the second part. Consciousness without wisdom means we can be conscious and aware of things, but we may not be wise about it. We may not be able to see clearly. But at the same time,
yes,
to be able to see clearly, that has to be part of consciousness. To be able to see it, you can't see clearly if you are not conscious. If you're not able to. But seeing is part of the whole process of consciousness, the experience of consciousness.
But then doesn't that contradict your first answer? Because your first answer says that wisdom is inherent in the mind. Inherent
but clouded, you see. So
it's inherent means it arises together with the consciousness, but it is clouded.
The clouding prevents it from arising, or the clouding prevents it from clear seeing. Here we define...
That means, but it's still there. Is it still there?
It doesn't arise.
It doesn't arise means it's not there.
No, it's dormant.
It's dormant.
Dormant.
Oh, okay. It's dormant.
It's dormant.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Yes.
Okay.
For the first part of the question, we also agree that wisdom is inherent in the mind, but it's got to be developed because it is clouded by the defilements. But once it's developed, it arises with the consciousness. Yeah, because in the commentary, it has been stated. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's luminous. But we think that composure and vitaka vichara are visitors because although you can have wisdom, these states might not be there until you cause them to arise.
How about wisdom? You don't cause wisdom to arise?
Wisdom, once developed, will arise with...
But before it's developed?
It is clouded. I quite agree. It is there, but it's clouded. It doesn't make itself felt.
So doesn't it apply to B as well? That these things are also dormant, waiting to be aroused?
Yes. The wisdom, we think, the wisdom is there, but you have to cause all these other mental states to arise.
Yeah, how about B?
Yeah, B.
B is not wisdom. B is other things like vitaka, vichara, satis.
They must be caused to be arise.
So they are there. Yeah, just like wisdom, dormant, waiting for conditions to arise, isn't it? They are
We're not quite sure.
They are implants.
They are, it would be true, that they are not there unless the conditions are there for them to arise.
So how to put them there? Implant them?
No, we have to do the work. We have to meditate, we have to do the work, strive, and then they will come. It's like when we call them, then they will arise.
Okay. Doesn't sound very convincing though. Okay, thank you. It seems the two groups have sort of agreed that wisdom is inherent in the mind. But is wisdom inherent in the minds of all beings or in only some beings? Huh? Some beings. All beings. Oh, okay. So how many say all? Hands up. How many say some? Hands up. Oh, half. half. All beings lah. Okay, no, okay, human beings. All human beings. All human beings, hands up. Some human beings, hands up. Okay. If you all have studied Abhinama, you would have heard of the Ahetuka, Dvihetuka, and Tihetuka. Rootless, two-rooted, and three-rooted. People who are born with 3 roots, with 2 roots, or no roots at all. What are these roots? No roots means you don't have non-greed, non-hatred, non-delusion. Two-rooted means you have non-greed, non-hatred, but you don't have non-delusion. Three-rooted means you have non-greed, non-hatred, and non-delusion, which means to say that you have wisdom lah. Non-delusion means the wisdom root is there. So it seems that according to the Abhidhamma, not everybody has it. Only those with wisdom root can develop the jhanas and get awakened. Now, has this any evidence, or can this be supported by the suttas? Okay? So there's this one sutta called Patipanna Sutta. SN 4818 is on the Indriya Samyutta, connected sayings about the faculties. Actually, there's a group of suttas, this is number 18. In that particular Vagga, in that particular chapter, there are a group of about 20 suttas which talk about these spiritual faculties in various ways. And some of them are similar, but using different individuals, classification of different individuals. Are you familiar with the 5 faculties? The 5 spiritual faculties are faith, effort, mindfulness, samadhi, and wisdom. Okay? And in this sutta, Patipanna Sutta, the Buddha says that one who has completed and fulfilled all these 5 is an arahant. Okay? And one who is not fully completed, weaker than that, one grade weaker than that, is one who is not yet an arahant, but who is practicing for arahantship. And then it goes down the line now. You know the typical enumeration. Weaker than that would be anagami. Weaker than that would be one practicing for anagamiship. And then weaker than that would be sakadagami. And weaker than that would be one practicing to become a sakadagami. And then weaker than that would be sotapanna. And weaker than that would be one who is practicing to become a sotapanna. Okay? So one who is practicing for sotapanna, to become a sotapanna, is not yet a sotapanna. In the previous sutta, which is almost identical except for a few differences in the classification, one who is weaker than sotapanna is either a dhammanusari or a saddhanusari. Dhammanusari is a dhamma follower. Saddhanusari is a belief or faith follower. Right? These 2 individuals are very special individuals. They are not just sotapanna, but they are assured to become a sotapanna before they die in this very life. Okay, what are they? Dhammanusari, the dhamma follower, is one who accepts the Buddha's teachings on impermanence with regard to the senses and anything connected with the senses. He accepts it only intellectually. After intellectual consideration, he accepts it. And because of the strength of his intellectual understanding and acceptance, that is enough to restrain him from committing any of the 10 types of unwholesome causes of action. What are they? The 3, 4, 3. The 3 connected with the body, 4 connected with speech, and 3 connected with the mind. What are they? The first 3 are connected with the body. He refrains from taking life, from taking what is not given, from sexual misconduct. The 4 are connected with speech. He refrains from speaking falsehood, from divisive speech, speech that divides people who are already united, and from harsh speech that hurts people, from frivolous or unbeneficial speech. Okay, these 4. And then 3 other things he will automatically refrain from are wrong view, and number 2, covetousness, only desiring, in the mind. I haven't done anything or said anything. Desiring something or somebody that belongs to somebody else. Coveting. And the third one is ill will. Very malicious thoughts of wishing for somebody to die. Not just hating or disliking that person, but wishing in the mind that, may this person be struck by lightning, may he be hit by a car, may he die of heart attack. It's something very malicious. Yeah. That was a very interesting experience when I was helping Sarau Pandita translating for him in 1984 in Barre, Massachusetts. There was one yogi who was meditating, and she sat behind her enemy, someone whom she hates very much. And during the meditation, she saw the enemy sitting in front of her, and she imagined in her mind that she was chopping that enemy to pieces. She was supposed to be doing vipassana, but she's doing killing meditation in that. And that is really bad karma. If you have such thoughts and you pursue such thoughts, these thoughts can cause rebirth in hell, in the lower realms, even though you don't act them out. Okay. Covetousness is also something you desire so badly, somebody or something that belongs to somebody else. And you start to maybe think about it and scheme how you can get it. Somebody's wife, somebody's husband, for example. Okay, that itself is bad karma. That has the power and potential to give rebirth in a lower realm. But not 100%. Possibility is there. You've ever done also other good karma. Maybe your other good karma might be able to overshadow it. But the potential is there. But the Dhammanusari, or the Dhamma follower, because of his intellectual understanding and acceptance of the Buddha's teachings on impermanence regarding the senses, he will automatically refrain from all these 10 types of unwholesome actions. And because of that, he will not go to the lower realms, and he will be assured of becoming a Sotapanna before he dies. Okay? So maybe this is within the reach of some of you. Okay, now the second one is Saddhanusari, the belief follower or the faith follower. This person has got a lot of faith, a lot of devotion. And he believes in the Buddha's teaching on impermanence regarding the senses. Not because he's a great intellectual, but because the Buddha says so, must be true lah. Just accept it on faith, without actually going to verify it. And that faith in the Buddha is strong enough to refrain him from committing any of these 10 types of unwholesome actions. And because of that, he will not gain rebirth in the lower realms after this life, and even by the end of this life, he will be assured of becoming a Sotapanna. Okay, that is what is stated in the Samyutta Nikaya, Okantika Samyutta. Okay, so here in this sutta before this one, I think it's SN 48, 15, 16 or 17, it talks about these 3 instead of saying practicing for Sotapanna. So essentially, a person who is practicing for Sotapanna refers to these 2 persons, the Dhammanusari or the Saddhanusari. Okay, below that, where these 5 spiritual faculties are completely and totally absent, then the Buddha says, this person is an outsider standing on the side of worldlings. Okay, right, so these 5 faculties can be completely absent in a human being. That means not all human beings have the potential of wisdom. The wisdom root is not there, only some. Okay, so what this slide is trying to show is that the Abhidhamma view that there are beings who are born with no roots, 2 roots, or 3 roots can be somewhat supported by these suttas. It's not just an Abhidhamma view which is unsupported by the suttas. Okay, so the other arguments have been pointed out by Billy. He says that in this sutta called Vijabhagya Sutta, which is on a function of samatha and vipassana, on 128, it says that when samatha is developed, the citta is developed, right or not? And when vipassana is developed, wisdom is developed, right? So, because the citta is there, you can develop the citta. Because wisdom is there, you can develop the wisdom. If it's not there, how to develop? Right or not? You can only develop something which is already there. So this is also another indication that wisdom is inherent in the citta. Inherent in the sense that it is dormant. It's just like the simile that I like to use is the simile of a seed. In all these seeds, every seed has the potential of growth to become a plant. Yet, all those walnuts and almonds and sesame seeds that we eat never have a chance to grow. Right? Although the potential is there, they never have a chance to realize the potential. So it's the same, human beings also, there may be many human beings with the potential for wisdom, but this potential is never realized. Because they don't have affinity for Buddhism, or they are born in a place where there is no Buddhism, or even in a place where there is Buddhism, maturity is not there to accept it. In the Abhidhamma model, you have certain sadharana cetasikas, which are universals, and they stay in the mind all the time. Yeah? If these guys can stay there, why can't wisdom and the other guys stay there as well? I mean, applying the same logic. But they are there in the sense that they arise and pass away together with the mind, and the mind is also a conditioned phenomena. So the potential of wisdom is inherent in the mind. That's why the mind is luminous, but it needs to be developed. The luminosity of the mind by itself is not sufficient. The wisdom that is inherent in the mind is not sufficient. You need to develop it, just like the potentiality in a seed cannot grow until there are supporting conditions. You need to put the water, you need to put the baja, fertilizer, and you have sunlight and so forth. So all these are the supporting conditions for the growth and development. And from the point of view of Buddhist spiritual practice, that's what it is all about. You have to look for supporting conditions. Since everything is due to cause and condition, all sankharas, so it's a matter of tweaking the causes and conditions, understanding the causes and conditions, and then trying to remove the causes and conditions for the arising of unwholesome states, and to recreate the supporting conditions for the arising and development of wholesome states. Okay, as for the other factors, vitaka, vichara, and so forth, my personal opinion is that since the Buddha only said categorically that defilements are visitors, so all these things are also inherent in the mind. They are just part of the mind. It's the nature of the mind. It's just that if the causes and conditions are there, they will arise. If they are not there, if the causes and conditions are not there, they will not arise. However, defilements definitely do not belong to the mind. They are all visitors. And if you allow them to stay in your mind, then they become squatters. Okay. Okay? So, any questions before we go on?
Bhante, when
Yes.
we say that vitaka and vichara are always there, vitaka vichara is not necessarily wholesome.
No,
So
it's
in the
in-
context
it's-
of jhana,
it's-
we
yeah, I
understand
know.
it to be wholesome, but it can also be unwholesome.
Yes.
So would it then also still be inherent? Because that would then be an unwholesome mental factor which is always there, according to this theory.
No, what I'm saying is that it's just like wisdom. Wisdom is inherent, is a potential. But in order for it to arise, the causes and conditions must be there. So it's the same for all these things, vitaka and vichara. It's, the potential is there. If the causes and conditions are there, they will arise. If the causes and conditions are not there, for example, when you go to the second or third jhana, then they will not arise. I mean, that's just my interpretation.
Yeah, but how about unwholesome thoughts?
Again?
Unwholesome thoughts.
Well, as Billy stated, whether it is wholesome or not wholesome depends on the defilements.
Yes.
The vitaka and vichara may arise, but if it is influenced by the visitors, then it becomes unwholesome.
So, but it's already there, you would say. Vitaka vichara is already there.
It's just like wisdom, it's inherent, but the causes and conditions must be there for it to arise,
Okay.
or not to arise.
How about tinamita?
These are defilements.
Yes.
Yeah, defilements are visitors.
Okay, so you would agree that tinamita is a visitor, but vitaka vichara, if it's associated with unwholesome mental factors,
Then-
you would say
then, yeah.
it's still coming from
No,
within.
vitaka vichara is a function of the mind. Whether it's wholesome or unwholesome depends on lobha, dosa, and moha, which are defilements. If the defilements are mixed with the functions of the mind, then it is called unwholesome.
Oh, okay, so those neutral states which don't have a characteristic of their own,
Yeah. Right.
which are
Indeed.
functions of
Yes,
the mind,
Yes.
they are already there. And
Yes.
Then it depends on with which other mental factors they're associated.
Yes.
Or whether it
Right,
comes from
yes.
within or from without.
Yes.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I find a number of inconsistencies in this chart alone.
Mm-hmm.
If we take defiled, it says chitta and mano are defiled.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then we go on to see the liberated.
Mm-hmm.
It's only showing chitta can be liberated.
Yes.
Can't mano be liberated from the defilement?
That's interesting. I don't know.
So that's the first inconsistency.
Yeah.
The second inconsistency, the word sentience, I think it's the next page.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure what he means by sentience,
Right.
but it pointed out sentience to be in chitta and vijnana, but not in mano, which is quite contradictory to my understanding and acceptance.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so that is second inconsistency. The third inconsistency on that page, rebirth at the bottom, it says is associated with vijnana. But we know that from the Paticca Samuppada that rebirth follows upadana, which is the clinging.
Depends on where you look at it, if
Yeah,
you look at the top or the bottom.
Whatever. Yeah, after upadana comes
Bhava.
bhava, then that's all the process of rebirth happening there.
Jati, yes,
Yes.
jati after that.
So that upadana is happening in the chitta.
Okay, so?
Therefore, rebirth must be associated with chitta, but he's only saying vijnana.
Yeah, I know. It says
So that's
vijnana.
another inconsistency.
Okay.
And finally, I'm only pointing out 5, there might be more.
Yeah, probably.
I only just came up with it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, vijnana is the outcome of 5 aggregates.
Okay.
Now, we know that, at the end of the 5 aggregates is vijnana.
It's not an outcome, it's part of the 5 aggregates.
Part of the 5
Okay.
aggregates.
Okay.
But we know that in the 5 aggregates, there is Vedana, the feeling.
Yes.
It is the reaction to the feeling that actually causes all the trouble we have.
That is under sankhara.
Yes, And the reaction to the feeling, the part of the mind that is reacting to the feeling is the chitta.
No, it's the sankhara.
Sankhara is in the... okay.
It's sankhara.
So there is a difference in our in our understanding.
Yeah. But the chitta, according to the Abhidhamma, includes all the 4 aggregates.
Yeah.
Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, and Vijnana.
Yeah,
That's
because
called the chitta.
My understanding, well, I don't want to start the discussion here, but my understanding is that Sankhara is not volition. Sankhara is purely mental construction. Karma is not involved there. But maybe we can discuss this some other time.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So I don't think that I can explain those inconsistencies because these are just observations made by Professor Johansson. based on what can be found in the suttas, right? So sometimes, there's a way the sutta uses all these words. Sometimes they overlap. Sometimes they seem to be inconsistent. But vijnana as a rebirth process is just a term that they used to show that there is some continuity, some sort of continuity between one existence to another. If there's definitely no continuity, then how can whatever spiritual progress or unwholesome karma that one did in the past pass over to the next existence? Right? So it's just a useful tool to show that there is some sort of continuity from one existence to another. And this thing they use is the vijnana. And this vijnana also is subject to the three characteristics, is also due to causes and conditions. And another thing is that this vijnana also must be influenced by defilements before it can take rebirth. Okay.
But they understand that human beings are called manusa.
Manusa, yeah.
And the word manusa means that a mind that can be trained to the highest level or to be enlightened.
That seems to be either a modern day grammatical analysis or it comes from the commentaries.
So just now you mentioned there are certain human beings that cannot be,
Yeah.
doesn't have the wisdom root.
Yeah, according to the sutta just now on the 5 faculties.
So are these group of people, they are born as human beings but wrongly classified?
Wrongly classified?
That means they are not manusa,
Oh,
but they
no,
are
no,
born
no,
as
no.
humans.
No. I don't think that your definition you gave has any support in the suttas. It's probably, as I know it, Pali grammarians like to analyze it in that way. Yeah.
Question to clear some doubts. But before I ask that, I just want to quickly respond to our brother's mention of manusa.
Yes.
Manusa came from the word mano. Therefore, sentience. When we speak about human beings, we are sentient beings. So I think the sentience should include mano, because manusia came from the root word mano. So sentient beings. Okay, just a comment. All right, my question, Bande, is a genuine sort of unclear understanding. In the first jhana, we have those five we call it conditions, right? We have the vitaka, vichara, piti, sukha. I'm referring to the piti and the sukha part. We know that the vitaka, vichara is part of this vachi sankhara. Okay, so when we give up the vachi sankhara, we are into the second jhana. When we give up piti and sukha, we are into the fourth jhana. Is piti and sukha part of the kaya sankhara?
No, it's not.
Because piti and sukha is to do with the bodily condition and the comfort and the tranquility of the body. So if we give up...
Not necessarily. Actually, piti and sukha are mental states.
Mental states.
Yeah, mental states. They're all mental states.
Sukha is connected with pasadi, which is a physical state, which is rather the tranquility of body. But let's mention tranquility of body.
Yeah, there's also tranquility of body, but in the jhanas, it is tranquility of the mind. But it can be manifested physically. Tranquility of the mind can be manifested as physical tranquility. Happiness of the mind, comfort of the mind can be manifested as physical comfort also.
So maybe quickly, where is this kaya sankhara appearing?
Oh, kaya sankhara, for which one?
Yeah, what is kaya sankhara
Kaya
then?
sankhara is breathing.
Yeah,
the breathing process. So
see.
by the fourth jhana, the breathing process stops. So no more breathing. So that's it, where kaya sankhara stops, ceases.
Yeah. Okay, then of course, when you're into the arupa part, then the chitta sankhara stops also at some point.
Chitta sankhara stops only before one goes into nirodha samapatti, cessation attainment.
Into the arupa.
No. Arupa still have chitta sankhara. It's only after the fourth arupa, the fifth one is the cessation of perception and what is felt.
So that's when
chitta sankhara ceases.
Stops.
Yes.
And then there's one more sankhara which I'm puzzled. Ayu sankhara.
Ayu sankhara. There's a life faculty.
Would that be metabolism or life-sustaining process in the body. The cells
It's something.
keeping the
It's
cells
something
alive.
mental.
Mental.
Yeah, it's something mental.
Oh, Ayu Sankara is something mental.
Yeah, it is.
I see.
It's because the Buddha relinquished his will to live, as they sometimes translate it.
Uh-huh.
It is
Right.
to, yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mante.
Right.